So in my very very early years, it was there was a lot of impression upon me. There was a lot of people that I idolized and I looked up to when it came to just the life that they were living and the influence that they were having. And I would say it all came down to influence. And from a very, very, very young age, I was like, I want to be an influencer. And I know that that's like a trendy thing right now because of like social media.
But then it wasn't.
It had nothing to do with that.
But
It was
that term
literally
didn't even exist then.
No, not at all.
no. So when I say influence, I mean like actually connecting with people at a very, very deep, intimate level that was beyond surface conversation. And I still live like that to this day. And
My question now, after talk about this, we talked about, your former band and all that, and how does that sit with you now in evangelism? Is it less about being a good guy and more about making a career and a living? Is the pressure different? There's a lot from what we just talked about, but I feel like there has to be a culmination in what you do now. Otherwise, you wouldn't still be doing it.
It's a big question, but it's more about, being a good guy. I'm not really sure that means all that much. Good is subjective.
Yeah.
We've talked before about, I don't think that we're good people. I think we're flawed people, broken people, and we get to work on ourselves, but I don't sit on any high horse calling myself a good guy because I know myself too well. I know what I try to be, and I try to make amends when I'm not that.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, it's, for the last number of years of my life, it's not been about making money or trying to have a typical successful career. It's about trying to connect with people, and that's all that's mattered to me. It really is. And I would like to think that the way that I have put my work out into the world indicates that that's what's most important.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree.
And the reason that has become the paramount thing to me is like, so you like to tell this story about seeing one of my first bands when you were a teenager.
Star with 5 R's.
And I'm gonna paraphrase the story, but you're in a band, and actually you just tell it quickly.
Tell it quickly is Ryan's key words to me because I can fucking drown. Okay, so I'm in 8th grade, which is 12, 13 years old.
this is already the long version.
Yeah. Fuck. I'm in a rock band. Okay, so we go to the Market Hall of Peterborough and we see this band called Star. Hadn't heard of them. It's a big rock show. Our band's about to break up. We fucking hate each other and we're young and whatever, trying to steal cigarettes. And we go and see this band and they're called Star and we knew nothing about them. But by the end of the show, I think it was 45-hour set, something like that. And me and the bass player, who is still my best friend today, one of my best friends, because, fucking guys are here.
You can't say that in present company.
Yeah. We looked at each other and we said, that's how we gotta be. See, that's professional. Those guys are doing it for a reason. They're not just fucking around in a basement. That's how we gotta be. And then our drummer quit that night, but, we carried that with us. And then I realized, the guy that's now in my band and my best friend.
So that story, and I've heard you tell it better. I set you up nicely, and that's your delivery.
Well, it's because you set me up, man. It's better when I'm shit canned and it just comes out.
Yeah, but this story plays into my answer.
Also, I did acid.
So I'm being quite honest with you.
Yes,
when I
sorry.
say
I'm gonna pull it in.
that's the only story I can think of something that I did on stage influencing somebody.
Oh. That's beautiful.
Now, we are not,
Yeah.
we're not the measuring stick for our own influence, right? We don't get to see where our...
Dude, you have way more influences than that, but I get what you mean.
But
it's the only time a story's come back to you, just say
the
what
broader
happened.
point that I'm getting to is something that Gabe already touched on, that I think in my life, in my career, whatever influence I've been able to have in people's lives has come off stage. It hasn't, like that story about, you know, you not knowing me and seeing me on stage and it
No
having
idea.
some impact on you and your band.
What changed my life?
If that has happened other times, I haven't heard about it. But what I have heard is that conversations that I've had with people before and after a show at one of the stores that I have.
Yes.
That I know because people have told me, and because I can feel it in the room, that the words that I'm saying, the conversations that I'm having, are connecting with people. But I've never had somebody tell me that my song changed their life.
Yeah.
I've never had somebody tell me that my band changed their life.
Well, it changed my life, and I'm in your fucking band.
So like I'm leaving room for the fact that we don't get to see the end result of our influence all the time. But I am trying to hammer home the point that at this point in my life, I am way more interested in these, let's call it, micro connections.
I was just gonna say that. Based off Michael influencers.
Yeah.
Well, micro connections, yeah.
And this, like, I tell this story a lot, but it's, these words just keep ringing in my head, and they have for the last 10 years, is when I was on Warner,
Yeah.
and the president of the company told me, people's perception of your band will change if they could spend 5 minutes with you.
Right. Yeah.
And I was offended a little bit, and it took me a while to understand what he was saying, but I clearly understand what he's saying now. That he knew me off stage, and he felt like there was something in the way that I was off stage that wasn't coming across on stage. And on stage, at that point in my life, I'm wearing sunglasses and a fur coat, and, you know, I still wear sunglasses.
And you were that as well.
Well, that's
but
me.
you were also this.
And that's always been me, and that's why, like, some people that would be like, he's a, you know, a poser, or
He's a fucking poser, all this shit.
he's too cool for school. Well, you can fuck right off, because I actually love sunglasses and leather jackets,
fuck
and
right
I love
off.
Bowie, and I love,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna dress the way I want to dress. But when you talk to me off stage, I understand now what I didn't understand before. That is, I am different, and the way that I can communicate off stage is different than the way that I communicate on stage. You were asking me how this factors into evangelism, and it factors into evangelism in the way that I now prioritize a connection before a show, after a show. I feel like all the on stage stuff is just to earn the conversation afterwards.
That's beautiful. You're gonna do a lot of VIPs, man.
But there's a reason that you want to talk to somebody. There's a reason you will listen to somebody.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And me getting up and, you know, doing my thing is hopefully the reason that people want to have a conversation with me afterwards. But
And listen to the words that you say.
well, that's part of it.
In an album, whatever it is, you know. Yeah, I get that. I think that's
Or
good.
the clothes that I make, or the words that I write, or whatever. It's like
Yeah.
the art, whatever I do at this point in my life, is to open the door a crack so that maybe I can have a real personal connection with somebody, either before or after an event, on Instagram, on email, whatever.
Did they know you were a Christian
That's-
kids?
that's a good
You know
question.
what? People knew our story because there was a bit of a brand when it came to, you know, 4 preachers' kids and 1 preacher.
Well, it was the party
Basically,
line,
every
right?
piece
Yeah.
of press started out that way.
But
Yeah.
we toured with wicked guys, Crystal Pistol from
Yeah.
Vancouver.
Who, like, were party animals, as far as I've heard.
And the lead singer, Mick, I will never forget this. I've had many occasions in my life, and only a few stand out, and one of them was Mick. And he literally said to us, "You guys are just so nice. There's something different about you guys." He wasn't talking about our marketing of 4
Right.
preachers, kids, and 1 preacher. He wasn't talking about that brand and that marketing that we went through and all that kind of stuff. He was literally speaking about us, and that spoke volumes to me. And I was like, okay, this doesn't have to be to the masses. It doesn't have to be to a room of 40,000 people. It can be to one guy
Yeah.